What's up, everybody? Welcome to my talk. I'm very, very excited to be here. My name's Jerry Auger, and I am going to be telling you all about a technique that I have been using in my organization for probably the last 6 months that has had wild success in educating the end user community, actually being engaging in enjoyable education, surprisingly, and how I did it, how you can do it, right? So, really, if we just take a step back and think about it for a second, we as cybersecurity practitioners, we have lots of cool tech and lots of cool tools, but we can only harden so much. End users are being socially engineered. They're doing what they need to do in order to get their work done, which sometimes involves installing stuff that they shouldn't, or going to sites they shouldn't, or just clicking through things because they want to get done with what they got to get done. How do we educate that group of people in a way that's actually effective and they want to learn, right? Versus being told to learn, right? When was the last time you actually cared about something that you were forced to sit through versus something that you tuned into because you were interested, right? So just think about it from a mental perspective. So I'm going to be going through what I did at the organization, why it worked, and how you can implement it too. So really quick, who am I? Because you might be like, who is this clown? I don't know you, right? If you don't know me, my name is Gerald Auger. I've worked in the cybersecurity space for about 17 years. I worked in healthcare. I worked in financial. I did work in financial, but very shortly. I worked in federal IT. And now I'm currently working in manufacturing, running my own information security program. I'm also the chief content creator at Simply Cyber, which is a YouTube channel designed to help people make and take a cybersecurity career further, faster. And I'm very, very engaged with the community on LinkedIn, a little less on Twitter, but InfoSec Twitter is pretty awesome. So as technologies advance, and attacks on the end user increase, right? This is, I put zero trust here, right? Like as we move to the cloud, the user account becomes more important, the identity becomes more important to protect, and it's just easier to get end users who already have trusted accounts to get them to give bad guys or pen testers access to their active account to use in further in their attack, whether it's lateral movement or it's for privilege escalation, enumeration, whatever. At the end of the day, the focus has been put on the end users, right? So when we're talking to our end users, right, we really, one thing that I want to preface this by saying is that you really got to think about who your end user is, right? So when I worked in the healthcare space, physicians and clinical staff, they're walking around talking about all this stuff that I have no clue what they're talking about, right? And I'm sure when I'm walking around telling you about even basic terms that you and I think are normal, like authentication, authorization, architecture, zero trust, even crazy things like, 6-digit PIN or multi-factor or, anything like that. They're just foreign terms to these people. So you could have someone who doesn't understand technology. Maybe they're new to technology altogether, or maybe they're a little bit older and they didn't come up with technology, right? Or they just don't care, right? So when we're writing our language that we're going to be communicating in our awareness training, it's very important that you use common terminology. You don't kind of drift off into the technical pieces of why they need to do it, or the technical pieces of why the defensive mechanism that you're pointing out is going to work, or the technical aspect of how the attack is actually perpetrated. Yes, we think it's cool, right? Like I definitely think a cyber attack, although I don't want it to happen to my organization, I think it's really, really cool, and I am regularly. It sounds perverted, but like I'm regularly impressed by just the sophistication and somewhat elegance of novel attacks that threat actors are coming up with. But the end user community that needs to be aware of that attack, they don't need to know all that, right? So we just have to focus on what they need to know about. So the current approach, right? Everybody, especially if you work in an industry that has compliance requirements, it's always like the once a year PowerPoint, or maybe when you start the job for the first time, you get a deluge of awareness training, right? You get end user cybersecurity awareness training. You get protocols for timekeeping, how to take time off, what the expectations are for like OSHA requirements if you're working in manufacturing, maybe HIPAA training, right? like bloodborne pathogens, like how to report an accident. Like all this training just is like drinking from a fire hose. You all know it. We've all done it. And it sucks and it's completely ineffective because people end up just clicking through, not retaining anything because all they want to do is get to their job and get working, start contributing. And this is an impediment. And like I'm saying, like I don't want our training to look like an impediment. We want the end user to desire it, right? And I know that's kind of a strong word, but like, trust me when we get there, right? So it's usually annual, it's compliance driven, so it covers all sorts of things. There's no flow to it, there's no targeted messaging to it. And really at the end of the day, like if Bob in finance or, Claire in accounting, like if we're talking about, I don't know, like multi-factor authentication or USB drives, media protection, and make sure you do proper labeling and stuff like that, like it's not going to resonate with them, okay? So we've got to solve for that problem. So let's crane kick these weaknesses that I'm pointing out in the face, okay? Let's talk about what the solution is, okay? Before we get into that, I want to point out, like, spoiler alert, it involves creating very targeted, very specific, very pointed multimedia messaging that addresses a personal need of the individual, less of the organization, but it will have a duplicative value because if they're protecting their own stuff, they'll end up kind of having that same behavior in protecting the organization. Now let's talk about why this is going to work, and then I'll get into a better example and show you details, okay? So when we send an email, think about it yourself, right? Think about it yourself. When you get an email from HR or finance or corporate or whatever, and it shows up and it's just like this huge word wall, it's like you may read it, you probably don't. You probably even look at like the banner, like if it's that standard kind of corporate banner, you're like, I don't need to read this. This isn't work. This isn't actionable. No big deal, right? So when we're sending information security awareness, right? If we take a step beyond just doing the once a year PowerPoint and we send out like mail messages, right? Like, hey, like fun fact, right? Like people are probably not going to read it, okay? So, but if people are seeing, and the statistics show this, if people are seeing something to watch, a video clip, right? We're in the age of TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, right? People love multimedia visual ingestion. If they see that, they will stop and check it out. Now, whether or not they care about it yet, that's a separate issue, but they are going to stop. They are going to look, right? 1 minute of video, according to Forrester, is equal to 1.8 million words. If I send you an email with 1.8 million words in it, I guarantee you, you won't read it. If I send you a 60-second video, high probability you'll watch it. And I even go as far in my program as doing like 30-second videos or 20-second videos, because who doesn't have 20 seconds to give to watch something that would be like somewhat possibly entertaining, right? So we're going to be able to communicate a ton more information in a shorter window in a better vehicle to our end users. And executives, they're targeted in spear phishing, they're targeted in business email compromise. 59% of them, according to Forbes, would rather watch than read. Okay, and I don't think it really is reserved for executives. I'd rather watch something. When I have a problem and I Google it, I typically watch a YouTube video to see if I can solve it, unless it's like code and I'm trying to copy and paste it, right? But think about it yourself, right? How are you ingesting content? How are you ingesting education and training? Maybe you're not someone who enjoys the video medium, but a lot of people, it is the way that we get it, right? So why don't we take advantage of that? So here's the solution, okay? Here's the solution. Let's do the technical piece first, okay? So there's two solutions, right, that I like to use. Loom is the one that I use, and I'll show you in a minute, right? It's loom.com, and I don't have any financial affiliation. They have a freemium model, which means you can sign up, and the most you can do is record up to 5 minutes of a video, right? So you couldn't do like long form videos like 25 minutes, but like, again, we're talking about making 30-second videos, 45-second videos. So you can use this Loom account for free and achieve your goal, right? You can also, if you want to do it local on your workstation instead, because maybe you don't want to use a cloud-based service to record your things for your organization, then you could use something like Streamlabs, which is what I'm actually using to record this video right now. And it's fairly easy to set up and configure, and you're off and running. But basically, at the end of the day, these two solutions allow you to do a screen capture and record your video and your voice, right? So those are the three things that you're going to need. Now, I will point out really quickly, if you don't want to host these videos, because you have to record the video, right? Then you have to put it somewhere so it can be hosted. So then when you send a link, no one's going to attach like an 8 meg attachment video to an email, right? This is 2021. So you'd send a link to a video feed. So where's it going to be hosted? Maybe YouTube, maybe Vimeo, but maybe, like for me, I don't want this content hosted on a public share. So if you are a Microsoft shop, I don't have other solutions at this time, but if you are a Microsoft shop, you use Office 365, which a lot of people do, Microsoft Stream is basically like an internal YouTube for organizations, and you can host it there, and people in your organization will be able to get to it. Okay, so cool. So we know how to record the video. We know, like kind of what the tools are that we're going to be using. We know where we can host it. But like, how does it work, Jerry? Tell me how it works, okay? All right, so the operational piece. And sorry that the way I've got the video lined up, it's cutting off, but you can read it good enough. All right, so what's the solution? How do we operationalize this plan of yours, Jer? Okay, so a couple things that you need to be aware of. First and foremost, and I'm telling you, this is based on research that I've done. I've been doing this since April, and I literally have people emailing me in the organization, people from payroll, people from sales, like, hey, Jerry, love this message. Thanks so much. Hey, I look forward to your emails. Like, I'm getting that kind of feedback, which is insane, right? Like, people in our office are typically avoided. So this is good, but these are the techniques that you should employ, okay? First of all, you need it to be short, okay? Like I said, 30 to 60 seconds. I really wouldn't go north of 60 seconds or else you're going to lose people's retention, okay? Secure personally breeds good habit. What we are trying to do here is we're trying to promote a behavior. We're trying to endorse a behavior in the people so they stop doing something or they start doing something, right? Well, if you have personal skin in the game, if I'm telling you, for example, multi-factor authentication. If I'm telling you to put multi-factor authentication on your bank account because threat actors will steal your bank account password, log in, and take your money, well then, that resonates with people. When you're talking about taking people's money out of their bank account, they will listen and they'll be like, what do I need to do? I'm telling you. Same with password reuse, right? So, hey, yeah, I know you don't really care about like, your Pinterest account, for example. But if you're using that same password for Pinterest and your financials, guess what? When Pinterest gets popped, they're going to use the same password to log in. So you need to not use password reuse or maybe use a password vault. The point is, I hope you're getting this. Whatever it is, patching your computer, password hygiene, user accounts, not sharing passwords, whatever it is, personalize it because it's going to have the effect that they're going to start doing it, understanding it, wanting to work through some of the challenges of like setting up multi-factor, right? But then when you push it into your organization or you've already got it in your organization and people are grumbling about it or whatever, once they see the personal value of it, they will want to, they'll see the value for the organization, which is huge, right? Again, comprehension and language. You want to speak to your audience. You do not want to speak to another cybersecurity professional or an IT person, okay? Consistency is key. I do a weekly email, okay? That's a little aggressive, but that's how I roll. I would recommend at least a monthly email, maybe bi-weekly if you can swing it. When holidays come around or, the Olympics or COVID, kind of if it's a specific event, Black Friday, right? You may want to send out an extra message blast like, hey, scammers are running all the time on Black Friday. Watch out for these deals. Get people used to like looking at email to see if it's kind of a phish or a scam, right? But if you do it regularly and maybe in the subject line you have like, whatever, like watch out for this scam or bad guys want you to fall for this, kind of a clickbaity type thing. And then I personally do dash cybersecurity tip of the week. You could do cybersecurity tip of the month, whatever it is. You want some type of cadence where people begin to expect it. People look for it. When it pops up in their inbox, they click on it. They want to read it, right? But if you're doing it kind of like sporadically, it could be all over the place, and you're kind of getting back to that hit or miss, right? So I feel consistency is key. Look and feel. Personally, I run kind of the same look and feel simply because I want the person, my end user community, whoops, sorry. With my look and feel, I want my end user to have, to get used to it, right? I want them to have expectations, and I want the expectations to be met when they receive that email, right? So I run it just like this, like you're looking at right now with the bubble of my face and whatever the messaging is over here. But you don't need to turn your camera on, right? It could just be your voice. You could pick someone in your organization who becomes the voice of information security, right? So if you're introverted or whatever, I personally do it this way because I want people to know me. I want them to associate me with cybersecurity, because what has ended up happening, as I was hoping, is that now when someone has a problem, they reach out to me directly, right? So, hey, Jerry, this seems weird. What do you think, right? Oh, like that's totally cool, or that's an issue, right? Like let's dig in. And I know for larger organizations that have SecOps capabilities and tens of thousands of end users, my organization has about 1,100 end users, right? So I can do that. But you could even include like, hey, at the end of everyone, if you got a problem, contact this email address, right? But you don't need the camera on or off. It's more about the messaging and the personalization, okay? You want to keep slides limited, right? You want maybe 1 or 2 slides. You're not giving a PowerPoint presentation to this people in a 20 to 30 second time. I typically have like 1 slide that's like really capturing the point. So like maybe it's password and why you should use passphrases, and the slide just has, passwords here and passphrases here, and I'm simply pointing out that, a passphrase is way more complicated and also way easier to remember. You just got to wrap your head around starting to use passphrases, right? That's just an example, right? You don't want to be given a PowerPoint presentation to these people. Same style every time. Again, you're trying to breed expectations and meet them consistently, right? So, like I said, keep it 20, 30 seconds, boom, and to the point, have the title matched to like whatever the content is. Also, I send it out in an email blast. I didn't put this in the slides. I send it out in an email blast with a subject line that's kind of clickbaity, and then I use 1 or 2 sentences, like just to grab their attention, and then tell them to watch the video to get more information, okay? A pro tip, I put a thumbnail, which is basically, we're all familiar with thumbnails on YouTube, but basically I take a screenshot of the card that I'm using as my slide in my talk, and I put that in the email. I shrink it down, and then I drop a hyperlink on that image, and then make it look like a thumbnail that they would click on YouTube or anything else like that. Again, I'm trying to take advantage of the behavior that most people have already adopted of when they see a video clip with a play button on it, they will inevitably want to click it, right? So I want them to click my video so they can watch and learn the lesson, okay? So let me see here. Yep. Oh, yeah, so you can kind of see here, let me do this really quick. You can kind of see, here's a sample of an email that I did. You could see this one's a little bit lengthier because it was around a self-service password reset portal, multi-factor rollout type thing. But what you can see is kind of the thumbnail behind here, where it's the picture with the little play button. And this is what I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to lead my audience visually. I don't want it to be tough for them to figure out how to get the information I'm trying to deliver them. Okay, so some actionable ideas for you, okay? I've already kind of rolled through these a little bit, but you can make a video on, just think about how you would want to tell someone, like a friend, family, loved one, about how to protect themselves, right? Like mobile phone pin locks, not picking up USB drives and sticking them in computers, social engineering, be cognizant of that, phishing, password reuse, password vaults, multi-factor, right? You guys all know this, right? We're all practitioners here. There's all best practices, basic cyber hygiene that we want our end users to do, and kind of behaviors we want them to have. Those are the contents and videos that you should be sending to them, right? And basically, it will complement your your information security program a heck of a lot better than an annual PowerPoint will. Okay, so what are some lessons learned specifically from the last 5 or 6 months that I've done? First of all, it's going to be difficult if you're going to have the camera on. It's going to be a little uncomfortable at first. It seems very weird talking to an inanimate object as if it's a person. Okay, trust me. Edge of Tomorrow, I love this movie. I'm probably in a minority here of people that love this movie. But essentially the premise of it is that Tom Cruise wakes up in the morning, he gets killed at the end of the day, and then he wakes up the same morning, kind of Groundhog Day, except like an action movie, for lack of a better term. Anyways, the whole reason I include it here is because when you're recording, if you want to write a script, maybe you only have to do it once. But for me personally, I kind of do it by the seat of my pants, and I will make mistakes, or I'll realize I'm using a terminology or word that my audience isn't going to be a good fit for, and I will want to start over. So typically when I make like a 30-second video about why you should enable multi-factor authentication on your personal accounts, it takes me 15 minutes to make, okay? And the final product looks cool and it seems super smooth, but it's because I've literally been just grinding through the script the whole time. So just be aware that you probably won't nail it on your first take, or if you do, you might have some ums and uhs and pauses and talking to yourself and stuff like that. So be comfortable. We're just restarting it. The Loom tool actually has a restart button that makes it incredibly easy to just throw away your current recording and start a fresh recording. So I use that all the time. Okay. Your AV gear doesn't matter, okay? Consistency does, right? So I've got a sick camera, I've got a sick microphone, got lighting and all that. That's cool. Most people don't care about that, right? Like if you're gonna watch like a 35-minute video of this talk, maybe you care about it. But in reality, if you just have like a camera, right? And like it could be a webcam on your computer, it could be your microphone, or like AirPods or like the iPhone cord pods or whatever, like that'll work just fine. As long as you can be heard clearly, you don't have a lot of distracting noise in the background, and you can be seen clearly. That's it. Really, the bulk of the image should be kind of like the one slide PowerPoint you have. And, if you can just be heard, you're good to go. As I said, consistency matters, that you should be doing it regularly, again, so you breed expectation into your end user community. I do say ease into enterprise-wide communication. Personally, like I have authority now to email my entire, every single person in my enterprise. And I know in larger enterprises, it's way harder to get this authority. But if you start doing this, I would strongly encourage you try to reach to the entire organization, but work through communications, work through leadership, CC them on them, have them preview what the messaging is going to look like and how you want to send it out and what the idea is going to be. Don't try to circumvent them or just email blast everyone. That's not going to work. Get buy-in from those parties, communications, maybe legal, and leadership, because they're going to like it. Trust me, once it starts rolling and they're seeing it, they're going to like it, especially if you can demonstrate that it's actually reducing risk. So my lesson learned here is that I started that way, and then I actually found that communications and leadership didn't want me to bother them anymore. They didn't want, like I had earned their trust in developing the messaging, sending out the communications and stuff like that. That they said, go for it. We'll just review it as end users when we get them. And I've been doing that for whatever, like I don't know, many weeks now, right? At least 4 or 5 months. Again, don't abuse the power. Don't email blast everyone with just like a cool tip that isn't part of like your strategy of how you want to roll it out and your consistency and stuff like that, because you could get that authority taken away. I will say that I've also done kind of like impromptu messaging. So, I do every Monday, but Apple recently had like a 0 day that I actually felt like was a concern for my end user community. So I bundled up a kind of out of band messaging and sent that out using the same vehicle. And a lot of people, updated their devices and stuff like that, and actually thanked me for giving them that knowledge. So there is a value to it. Okay, so I was going to do a demo. We'll give it a shot. Just real quick, here is like my LinkedIn page if you want to connect with me. I love connecting with people on LinkedIn and talking and sharing ideas and stuff like that. But let's try a demo. This could screw up everything pretty royally, so we'll see. Okay, so here's passphrases. I'm going to use Loom, which is in my, which is a Chrome extension for me right now, right? Let's see if you can see it. All right, so okay, so like, hold on, can I do it this way? All right, right. So my camera's here. This is like off screen right now, so maybe I can do this. All right, let's get it a little tighter, Jerry. Okay, so you basically get the idea, right? It says start recording down here. Okay, so we would hit record and be like, and please understand that like I can tell that my camera lens is kind of jacked up right now, but that's fine. Right. Hey everybody, this is Jerry from Information Security. I want to take 20 seconds of your time to tell you why you should be using passphrases over passwords. Passphrases are way more complicated, but they're still special characters. Like spaces, exclamation points. See how I just messed up right there? So I would literally do a restart. Where's my restart button? There is a restart button usually on the side here. I don't see it right now, of course, because I'm doing a technical demo live. But I would restart and I would start again because I made that small mistake. But for me, I want a perfect message, right? So again, hey everybody, it's Jerry from Information Security. I want to take 25 seconds of your time to tell you why you should use passphrases over passwords. We all know what passwords are. We use them all the time. Well, passphrases are basically phrases that can be used as your password, but because they're phrases, they have spaces, they have punctuation marks, they naturally have capital letters. They are going to have all of that complexity that we ask of you to have in passwords. So next time you're resetting your passwords, think of a passphrase instead. It'll be easy to remember and it'll be more complicated to break. Thank you so much. Right, so that right there is exactly how you can see how my camera's all jacked up now. So that is an example really of how you can put together a message very, very quickly, get it out to your community, and help promote those changes in behavior to be more secure and reduce risk to the organization. Okay, so again, my name is Jerry Auger. I really, really appreciate the opportunity to speak at Texas Cyber Summit. Reach out to me if you have any questions, and thank you so much.